5 this morning, and we're talking about the popular movie that's getting a new twist. The movie The Blind Side centers around former Panthers player Michael Oher. And in the movie, he was adopted by a wealthy family, but yesterday, that story changed. So Oher filed a suit against Sean and Leanne Toohey. He's accusing them of lying to him. Those lies allegedly center around the papers that the parents had him sign. So Oher says those papers made the Tooheys his conservators rather than his adoptive parents. And here's why it matters. That conservatorship gave the Toohey family the authority to handle his finances. So Oher says the couple used it to make money off of him, but he says he never received any of it. So attorneys say Oher actually never signed adoption papers.
Each year or every so often, conservators and conservatees like himself and the family would have to appear in court, talk to the judge. The judge would ask a series of questions. The judge would ask, is this conservatorship still appropriate? Is it still necessary? So it would be unlikely that he would reach the age of 37 and not some understanding that they had some control still over his life.
This story has a lot of folks weighing in. Now, some are saying it's the magic of Hollywood. You can't always believe what you see in movies. Now, others, though, are wondering why decades later this is just now coming out. So breaking down what a conservatorship is, well, it's a type of guardianship. And this can be for either a minor or an adult. People use this when a person isn't able to make their own decisions. And those decisions can be about money or something else. Now, depending on what's in those papers, the agreement can limit the conservator to very specific issues or give them the same rights as a parent has over a child. Ben, Sarah, I'll send it back to you.
All right, Kia, thanks.
New overnight, the death toll in Maui now rising. There are at least 99 dead with close to 1,000 still missing. Hawaii's governor warning those numbers are expected to grow. With the investigation of the wildfires underway, many are turning to the recovery. Crews with cadaver dogs have been called in to help search the disaster area. The damage is estimated close to $6 billion so far. All right, Larry, what's that one thing we need to know about the weather here today?
One thing about that weather situation today, it's another hot one. We're going to look for actual high temperatures in the low to mid 90s. Could be a couple of thunderstorms late this afternoon into early evening. Now, Chris, what's one thing we need to know about that commute this morning?
And definitely about the paving operations. Now, construction goes on every night, but these ones have been pretty delayed recently. It should be clearing up by 6, but regardless, only down to one lane of traffic for about a 4-mile stretch here on I-85 southbound. Drive safe.
Coming up, if you think you've noticed more food recalls lately, it's probably because you have. We're connecting the dots on one reason that's driving the trend.
Plus, one of the most popular breweries in Charlotte is packing up and moving out. Find out which one is closing its doors.
And later, how often are you in the office? Why flexible work hours may be linked to better mental health.
As we head to break, the Hyundai Hometown Hero program is back. Your Charlotte area Hyundai dealers, with the help of WCNC Charlotte, are once again recognizing an everyday hero. They could win a brand new 2023 Hyundai Santa Fe. Go to WCNC.com/hometown hero to nominate someone in our area that goes the extra mile to make our community a better place. The deadline for entries is August 20th.
5:15 right now. It is time to connect the dots. When we make the news make sense. If you've noticed more food recalls lately, you probably have. And there's one reason that's really driving the trend.
Contamination is driving a surge of recalls. Let's connect the dots. Whenever food is recalled, it's almost always for one of three reasons: mislabeled products, undisclosed allergens, and contamination issues. Lately, most high-profile recalls are connected to contamination. Trader Joe's just recalled certain brands of cookies, soup, and falafel because they had rocks and bugs. One reason Trader Joe's says so many of its products have been recalled recently is because of where they come from. Some small batch producers don't have the same stringent safety measures in place as global companies. It's important to understand that it's only a small portion of the food for sale from these places that gets recalled. And these recalls are often random, so make sure you keep an eye out for alerts. And that is Connecting the Dots.
Now to the day's checklist. Here are three stories worth knowing about today. One, this morning, two men are behind bars after police say they robbed a woman at gunpoint and committed sexual battery last Friday. It happened on Catherine Simmons Avenue near Lincoln Heights Park. Subjects Jeffrey Morgan and Jeffrey Morgan III, pictured here, were arrested after being pulled over for a traffic stop. They tried to run off but were eventually caught. Number two, this morning police are looking for a suspect after a woman was killed by a car in Mount Holly yesterday morning. 42-year-old Amanda Lynn Frisbee was walking on Central Avenue when she was hit and killed. Investigators are asking anyone who saw what happened to call Mount Holly police. And number three, this morning, one of the most popular breweries in Charlotte is packing up and moving out. The Charlotte Business Journal reports the Catawba Brewing Company closed its tap room in the Belmont neighborhood after 6 years without warning employees. It's reportedly planning to open up shop again in South End near the rail trail by next summer.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Time right now is exactly 5:17. Weather headlines for today. It's going to be very hot, very humid across the entire area. In fact, heat advisory this afternoon feels like about 105 to 107 right in the middle of the afternoon. Mixed clouds and sunshine, storm chances we head towards the afternoon into early evening. We did have some storms track across the area last evening. Heavy storm activity in the mountains, but things have calmed down. Now, I keep showing this number right here because you walk outside this morning, right now, it is 80 degrees. That's the current temperature reading with a dew point of 75. That comfort level, not too good. Light winds only at about 6 miles per hour. It's 72 at Statesville, Rock Hill 78 degrees. 80 right now at Wadesboro, upper 70s at Rockingham and Cheraw. The cool spots, mid to upper 60s up there at Boone and Jefferson and West Jefferson in the mountains. Okay, here it is, that school day forecast. 7 a.m. mid 70s, run 9 a.m. for recess at 87. At noontime for lunch, if you're outside, 92 degrees, upper 80s, a few spotty showers we get towards the early part of the afternoon. Once again, we do have heat alerts in effect locally. It's a heat advisory. That's most of the area. Even though you may not be colored in on this, I would say take into advisement that it's going to be really very dangerously hot in many areas. And then you go east of here, that's a heat warning. And this is areas from Laurinburg all the way to Lumberton, as you can see, right all the way to the Carolina coastline. We're going to see heat index temperatures over 109, about 110. For us, about 105 today. Then we can back things off as we get through the middle part of the week into the early part of the upcoming weekend. Traveling today, a couple storms up in the high country in the mountains, mid 70s there, about 83 at Asheville along the Carolina coastline. There may be a couple storms there in Charleston, mid 90s there. Upper 90s, 98 at Columbia. These are actual high temperatures. Mid 90s at Raleigh, and chance of a storm or two late afternoon right here in the Charlotte metro area. Check out those expected high temperatures in places like Rockingham and Cheraw. They're going to be in the upper 90s. That's the actual air temperature, not a heat index temperature. Close to 94 at Rock Hill, Gastonia, and Lincoln. Mid 80s at Hickory. It'll be in the low to mid 70s in the North Carolina mountains. Check that Guy Roofing 7-day forecast. Here comes a break in the heat tomorrow and Thursday, upper 80s. Almost sounds cool. And then from Friday into the upcoming weekend, we're back to the low 90s. Next week, Monday, we start back into the mid 90s again. That's the weather word. Let's get a check on your Tuesday morning commute. See what's happening on the streets. Here's Chris Mulcahy. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning to you. Let's get right to it. So first off, let's talk about some news. We mentioned this yesterday. Starting this Saturday, the Cats Gold Line is going to move to 30-minute frequency instead of 20 minutes per stop. So that's going to be a big change for you. Also, construction. We've seen this story before. It didn't happen yesterday, luckily, but there are 2 blockages right here on the Brookshire Freeway, 277, this part of town. One, it's the off-ramp from I-77 northbound trying to get on the Brookshire Freeway, and also Independence, yet again, is blocked until 6 a.m., also trying to get on this side of town. So that's going to be a little bit of an inconvenience for you, and we mentioned this before. Also, the I-85 southbound lanes down to 1 to 2, depending where you are. First starting at Graham Street, going all the way to Glenwood Drive. That is a 5-mile stretch where cones are blocking lanes. Hopefully it clears at 6 o'clock, but still in the meantime, delays up to 5 minutes heading southbound.
Coming up, a new study shows many people think secondhand marijuana smoke is safer to breathe than tobacco smoke. Why scientists are saying otherwise.
And a consistent work schedule could do more than just help out your social life. The new research just out.
And as we go to break, check this out. Members of the Panthers Monday getting the chance to meet some members of the military for the Salute to Service boot camp. The team hosted 100 local service members at the Atrium Health Dome, some of them participating in some NFL-style drills like the 40-yard dash, broad jump, and the QB arm challenge. It was the 4th year the Panthers have hosted the boot camp. .24 right now. Now to some stories to keep you and your family safe and sound today. This morning, a new treatment for common blood cancer has been approved by the FDA.
Yeah, Pfizer's Elrexifio will give people with multiple myeloma another option to fight the disease. Researchers behind the treatment expect it to last 8 months. They say it should be available in the coming weeks. A new survey shows most Americans believe marijuana smoke is safer to inhale than cigarette smoke. However, this morning, scientists are trying to set the record straight.
They say it could be just as dangerous, really. Smoked marijuana creates toxic particles that are bad for your health. Researchers say they're currently trying to learn more about how marijuana smoke affects the body. Well, new data this morning shows people with a regular 9 to 5 are less likely to suffer from depression and anxiety.
People who work rotating shift patterns are more likely to have anxiety because they usually don't have a set schedule. Folks who work odd hours, like overnights, are usually better off than people on different shift patterns because at least they can get in a routine, unless you change the routine on the weekends.
The importance of a routine. You can't forget that. All right, Larry.
Oh, the routine. All right. Nothing routine about this situation. Hot and humid again today. Just how hot will it be in your neighborhood? And what about that storm chance? All the details in your forecast coming up in a few minutes.
Also still ahead, your energy bill could soon be going up. The new rate hikes being proposed by Duke Energy.
Plus, making a difference by inspiring others. The story of a local girl who isn't letting anything get in the way of her dreams.
And it's time for a reason to smile. A Winston-Salem teen making sure other students are prepared for the first day of school. 17-year-old Kendall Williams founded the Kendall Project back in 2015. Over the weekend, the organization held their 8th annual Back to School Jam, where over 500 book bags were given away. Each backpack was filled with free school supplies. Since the organization's founding, the Kendall Project has donated more than 7,500 book bags. Breaking right now at 5:30, former President Donald Trump facing new charges once again ahead the new allegations he's facing from Georgia prosecutors.
Plus, Cornelius leaders taking another step to transform downtown. New this morning, the project that could bring new life to the northern part of Mecklenburg County.
Also, the investigation continues into a deadly plane crash in Hickory. We're hearing from the FAA about several small plane crashes in the Carolinas recently.
And how young is too young for parents to start having conversations with their kids about mental health? Ahead, the push to address mental health in the Carolinas. Wake Up Charlotte at 5:30 starts right now.
You're watching Wake Up Charlotte on WCNC Charlotte.
Thanks for starting your day with us here. I'm Ben Thompson.
And I'm Sarah French. Get ready for another hot day ahead. We're tracking some dangerous high temperatures for yet another day. Take a look at some of the heat advisories in and around the Charlotte area.
Our team getting you ready for the day ahead. Chris Mulcahy standing by with your morning commute. But first, let's begin with Larry. And Larry, can we expect more wet weather later today?
We got the chance of rain and storms, and of course the heat. That's a main issue. And right now things are pretty calm out there. Every camera showing just a few fair weather clouds. No storm issues at the moment. We did have some big storms that tracked across the mountains last evening. Even had some tornado warnings up there, but things are calm now. Once again, to show you dramatically how much of the area is under advisory alerts. And from Charlotte all the way to Albemarle to Wadesboro down into areas around Chester, Lancaster counties, we have heat advisory. Then east of there, that is a heat warning in effect. So what we're going to see this afternoon is a heat index temperature somewhere close to about 105, probably about 105 to 107. Then a nice break in those temperatures as we get to the middle of the week. Here it is hour by hour this morning, 9 a.m. 81, mid 80s at 10 a.m., right around 11, right before lunchtime, upper 80s, close to 90 degrees. In the middle of the afternoon, we are in the low to mid 90s. Notice between about 3 and 4, that storm chance definitely increases. So on your way home today, you'll see some scattered showers and storms. We'll check the timeline that coming up. Ryan, it's time to get a check on that commute here on this Tuesday morning. Here's Chris Mulcahy. Good morning, Chris.
Oh boy, this is how we're starting off the day with a decent amount of traffic. So Traffic Tracking Trey just let us know that there is a heavy backup right here on I-85 southbound. Starts around North Graham Street, really starts picking up around Beatty's Ford Road. We'll show you those images here shortly. And this should clear by 6 a.m. However, in recent weeks, that has not been the case. So just keep that in mind. I-85 southbound, kind of a mess, but especially seeing that sea of red starting just either side of I-77. Also, there is a little inconvenience. You can't get onto 277 of the Brookshire Freeway from Independence Boulevard. That'll be shut down until 6 a.m. You also can't get onto the northern part of 277 from I-77 northbound. So a little hindrance from those orange construction barrels still lingering. Hopefully, fingers crossed, everything clears by 6 a.m.
Breaking news into our newsroom in just the last hour. There is a police presence in Kannapolis right now. We're told police have a suspect in custody after a traffic stop earlier this morning on South Main Street. You're looking at live pictures right now from the scene. There are robots on scene as well, as police say they are investigating a suspicious item. We're working right now to find out what they're looking for. Our crew out there on the scene right now. And of course, we'll keep you updated on air and online.
Breaking overnight, former President Donald Trump facing his fourth set of criminal charges. A grand jury in Georgia issued an indictment late last night, accusing the former president of trying to overturn his 2020 election loss to Joe Biden. So here are 3 things you need to know. First, this latest indictment stems from a phone call the former president made in January 2021. On that call, he asked Georgia's Secretary of State to find nearly 12,000 votes to beat Joe Biden in the state. Second, former North Carolina Congressman and former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows also being charged for his role in pushing to overturn the election. Third, this is not hurting the Trump campaign. Mr. Trump is the overwhelming favorite to be the Republican nominee in next year's presidential election. Some political experts say the indictments may help garner Republican support even.
New this morning, Cornelius leaders taking another step to transform downtown. The planning board signing off on what's being called Mills Market. It's a new development that will bring hundreds of new homes, restaurants, and retail space to the heart of downtown. Wake Up Charlotte's Destiny Richards joins us now live from Cornelius. And Destiny, the plan now heads to the Board of Commissioners.
Mills Market is one step closer to becoming a reality in Cornelius.
People wanted a great downtown. They wanted the Arts District to be special. And I think that that's already started.
The development will be located near Catawba Avenue and Meridian Street, bringing commercial retail space, more than 200 residential units, and more than 400 parking spaces to downtown.
My hope is that Mills Market takes it to another level, that Mills Market creates a even more vibrant, a more walkable, it provides more restaurants, food and beverage establishments that people can enjoy.
Developers say the project has undergone a few changes, but this latest imagining of Mills Market is moving forward.
I think you've checked the boxes of the things that this town planning board and town commissioners want to incorporate in a new development. So I commend you for that, and I think it's a great project.
Destiny Richards reporting for us there. 5:35 right now. Turning to more today's top stories. In your morning rush, a suspect is in custody after a string of shootings targeted Wells Fargo ATMs. CMPD says Johnny Rivera was arrested and charged after firing a gun into 3 separate ATMs across the Charlotte area last Friday. No one was injured during the shootings, but Rivera is charged with shooting into occupied property and 3 counts of injury to personal property.
Check this out, a high-speed crash in East Charlotte caught on camera. This was the scene around 11 a.m. yesterday on Independence Boulevard. The car veers off the road and flips. Our graphic there on the side of the road is side of the screen is kind of covering this. You can see a man run from the scene. CMPD has not released any information on what may have led to that crash or the identity of the person who ran from it.
Happening today, American Airlines service workers set to rally outside of Charlotte Douglas. The rally comes after almost a year of stalled negotiations for better pay and conditions, according to organizers. Workers claim that despite working for one of the biggest airlines in the U.S., many have not received a raise in nearly 4 years. This comes as American Airlines brought in $1.3 billion in profits last quarter.
The Pineville community invited to learn more about recent rezoning petitions that impact about 5 miles of Main Street. Developers looking to add more mixed use and residential buildings to the area. Community members will have a chance to ask questions at the Pineville Public Library. That's 6 p.m. tonight.
New details this morning on the small plane that crashed into Lake Hickory, killing 2 on board. The plane went down around 11:30 Sunday morning after it reportedly hit power lines shortly after takeoff. The victims are identified as 63-year-old Jeffrey Cooley, who was the pilot, and 49-year-old Brian Miller, who was a passenger. Small plane crashes are a rising concern, with many stemming from issues inside the cockpit.
About 75 to 80% of the accidents we see are pilot error of some kind.
In the Carolinas alone, the National Transportation Safety Board recorded at least 8 other small aircraft issues over the past month, including in North Myrtle Beach, where 4 passengers and a pilot died.
All right, Larry, what is that one thing we need to know in weather?
One thing about the weather today, into the 90s for the afternoon. Could be some storms between about 3 and 6 today. Heat index temperature near 105. Now, Chris, what's the one thing we need to know about that commute this morning?
I-85 southbound. Traffic tracking Trey doing what he does best, finding where the traffic is. So in this little stretch that you're seeing right here, this is what you can expect. Only 1 lane of traffic is blocked, but this is what you can expect from I-85 southbound, anywhere from around Graham Street all the way to Glenwood Drive, as 1 to 3 lanes are blocked during that stretch. This should, quote, I'll jump on here, should be cleared by 6 a.m., but if this gets delayed, this is going to be a major traffic headache. I will, of course, keep you in the know.
Ahead at 6 a.m., a new warning this morning as police see a rise in car break-ins. What you can do to stay safe.
But first, in just a couple hours, South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster is set to make a special announcement alongside NASCAR officials.
Plus, making a difference by inspiring others. The story of a local girl who isn't letting anything get in the way of her dreams.
I'm Vanessa Rufus. Can't take home a forever friend yet? Make a difference by fostering a shelter pet. Any time in your home is a great break for them and frees up a kennel for another homeless animal. And join WCNC Charlotte August 26th as we clear the shelters.
Welcome back to Wake Up Charlotte. We're coming up on 5:43 now, and we're talking about mental health, especially in our young ones. It's why we're putting a spotlight on Mental Health America of the Carolinas. The nonprofit focuses on addressing mental health disparities right here at home. So I sat down with Kathy Rogers. She's the executive director of the organization and talked about how young she's seeing kids come into the office with mental health needs.
Where more young people at younger ages are experiencing high degrees of anxiety. We live in a world where they're more tuned in, even at age, to what's going on around in the world around them.
Now, there's a couple of different solutions that MHA is working on addressing even more disparities. First, they're identifying inequities that Black and brown people face in mental health. On numbers, MHA says about 7 million African Americans and another 10 million Latinx Americans actually suffer from mental illness. So the nonprofit is diversifying staff in efforts to provide counseling from experts who look like the community. Now, cost and lack of insurance are also some barriers. As a result, the Central Carolinas branch offers free therapy to those who qualify, and that's on top of short-term counseling. Now, stories like these are the reason WCNC has partnered with Pride Magazine. If you'd like to learn more about the resources that could be available to you, you can read more on this story at pridemagazineonline.com.